You are watching Mother Nature at her most furious. We knew an earthquake would strike sooner or later, and it did, with a greater vengeance than most of us ever imagined possible. Here, as you can see, is what used to be the Lions Gate Bridge. The bridge twisted and broke apart, sending dozens and dozens of motorists into the icy waters below. Just one more horrible, horrific scene across a province struggling to come to terms with the greatest known Canadian peacetime disaster. This is Pacific Rim Television back on the air again at last. I am Michael Doogie.
And I'm Dale Wilson.
And we are going to try to stay with you as best we can to bring you information on the quake and, most importantly, information on how you can survive the next few days, if not the next few weeks. We're hoping that you will bear with us. We are trying to operate with less than a quarter of our usual staff and none of our regular equipment. In fact, our own studios have been severely damaged and are unsafe, and so we're coming to you from our accounting offices. In fact, maybe if we could pan back a bit here, we can give the public an idea of some of the things that we are dealing with here. Like many of you, we have been very hard hit by the quake, but we're going to do our very best to stay with you during the next critical hours. Dale?
Thank you, Michael. 26 hours ago at 4:45 p.m., southwestern British Columbia was rocked by a devastating earthquake. The quake, which measured 7.5 on the Richter scale, struck during rush hour, the worst possible time imaginable. When it stopped shaking, 42 long seconds later, countless people were dead. The death toll is officially listed at 57, although you need only look out the window to know that that number is likely to rise dramatically. Hundreds, possibly thousands of people are dead. Tens of thousands may be injured. We have absolutely no idea how many people are missing, but judging from the rubble all around you, I'm sure that number is also likely to be high. While details are sketchy, we do know the following. The earthquake has affected much of southwestern BC. The lower mainland was particularly hard hit, with Vancouver, Richmond, Burnaby, and New Westminster suffering substantial damage. The southern half of Vancouver Island was also severely damaged, although we've been unable to get specific reports. We do hope that we'll have some of those reports for you shortly, as some of our communication systems are just now coming back online.
It's going to happen, the big one. Experts warn that a major earthquake could strike British Columbia at any time. An alarmist statement? No, merely a statement of fact. Hello, my name is Tony Parsons. Welcome to British Columbia on shaky ground. Many experts agree that coastal British Columbia sits on a major fault line where our local Juan de Fuca plate subducts or dives under the North American continent. This region is part of a much larger area notorious for deadly earthquake and volcanic activity called the Ring of Fire. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Wellington, Tokyo, Kobe, Anchorage, and Vancouver are all member cities of this region. We all share a common problem and the same fears. In fact, the only difference between Vancouver and these other cities, they've been there. They know what to expect. We're still left with the questions. What will it be like? What can I do to protect myself, my family, my business? When can I expect help? In the next hour, we hope to answer your questions. British Columbia on Shaky Ground is a unique program, over a year in the making. It's a collaborative effort involving your local municipalities, public utilities, provincial and federal governments, along with non-governmental relief organizations, civic-minded corporations, and many, many volunteers. British Columbia on Shaky Ground is a dramatization. Our purpose is not to alarm you, quite the opposite. We hope to prepare you for the event of an earthquake and to provide you with the skills necessary to survive it. We believe the greatest threat isn't the quake itself. The greatest threat is our own ignorance and our continuing belief that it won't happen here.
We here at Pacific Rim Television are hoping to be on the air with you during the next few hours. However, we are operating under backup emergency power only. In the event we do go off the air, please tune in to your local emergency broadcast station. They are online and able to provide you vital emergency information at this time. In the meantime, we'll be bringing you reports as they become available. Michael?
Dale, 26 hours after this devastating quake, much of southwest British Columbia is still without power and communication. Telephone, sewage, Natural gas and other lifeline services are still down in much of this area. Experts say that it could be hours, it could be days before even the most basic of services are restored. Help from the outside of the province is on its way. Little of it has been able to reach us, though, at this point. Many bridges are condemned. Roads are virtually impassable due to collapsed structures, and airports, including Victoria's and Vancouver International, are damaged and may be closed at this point in time. You must be as self-sufficient as possible over the next 72 hours. That is the next 3 days. Apparently, 3 days is optimistic. According to emergency workers, you could be on your own for the next 7 to 14 days.
Okay, so who's in this car?
I am.
You are you attending?
Yeah.
Okay, so you heard what it was?
Okay, Ruth, you got a sitter here too.
Unconscious?
It's unknown, and we don't know how high she fell.
Okay.
Okay?
There's no known death toll at this point. Officials are more concerned with rescue operations than with, as one official put it, counting bodies.
All right. The Vancouver International and the Victoria airports have also suffered major runway ruptures, making it difficult for outside help to even enter our area. Abbotsford, as I understand, is up and running, though I believe only for emergency purposes.
That's right. Yes, there's that footage. Tragic footage of the Lionsgate Bridge again. We also know at this point that other bridges, many bridges, are either down or badly damaged.
It has been confirmed that the George Massey Tunnel has collapsed. In the meantime, we have a report from Doc Harris. Yes, okay, from Doc. Doc had started this report shortly after the quake and has only been able to file it within the past 15 minutes. He's going to let us know how our own city is responding to this devastating disaster.
Vancouver is now a city under siege, crippled by devastation and destruction.
Well, the Emergency Operations Center has been activated, as you know, and as the Director of Emergency Services for the City of Vancouver, I've declared a state of emergency and also put into motion our emergency plan for the city. Our first priority is the protection of life and property, as you have indicated here. Also, the rescuing of people who may be trapped in debris, whatever. We're working on that right now.
Have you received assistance, or are you asking for assistance from other levels of government, for example, from the RCMP or the military?
In situations such as this, we do get the assistance as required. All emergency services work extremely well together. We're in the process now of making our request to the Prevention Emergency Program, and by doing that, we then get the gateway to the federal program, so that's in the works of being activated.
We're still trying to get a handle on the disaster, on the damage throughout the province, or throughout the area. It's quite slow coming in, and we're deploying resources as we identify the need. Well, one of the big problems is transportation routes and utilities. We have virtually no utilities in the Greater Vancouver area. We have no phones, so our messages have to be passed by radio. And transportation routes, bridges are down and transportation routes are plugged. A lot of people abandoned their cars last night when it happened at 4:45 and just left them on the street, and we're having problems getting the roads cleared so we can get the emergency services out.
Is there anything the average person can do to help your department?
Help us clear transportation routes. If you abandon your car somewhere and you can get to it, get it off the road. Look after yourself as much as possible. You know, if you've got food, water supplies, utilize them without going into shelters or calling on us for resources. Stay off the phones. The phones are for emergency use. Unless it's an emergency, we request that you stay off the phones. Let emergency services use them.
If you have any skills or trades, carpentry, building construction, and you can help your neighbors evaluate their houses to see whether they're safe structures and that to stay in, please help out in that way. Otherwise, if you can be of service to the local emergency crews, there's all kinds of them out there, report to the person in charge. We ask you to report to the person in charge and then take direction from that person. Don't go off on your own and try and help and possibly become a victim.
We're doing everything we can. It's slow, and it's hard on everybody. I've got firefighters with tears in their eyes, and there's a lot of things we got to go through to ensure the safety of these people who are trapped. And I wish I could say that we're going to get them out, every last one of them. I just hope to God we do. I got to go.
We have a statement issued by police spokesperson Ann Drennan that she issued shortly after the quake. Let's run that now.
The latest official news release as of 6:35 p.m. this evening is as follows. Severe damage to the city's water system has resulted in virtually no water supply. The public is strongly advised to conserve all water currently contained within their homes. Sources in the home include hot water tanks, toilet tanks, bathtubs, etc. Citizens should prepare for a period of at least a few days without safe, reliable water supplies. Arrangements are being made for alternative water supplies.
Right now, with all the lines down, the water out, water is our biggest problem, either from getting contaminated water and trying to drink it. Therefore, we have to try to get some chlorine tablets, we have to get bottled water to the people, and we've got to find alternate sources. And that's my biggest concern right now, is I got to find water for the city. And every place else that's hit is going to have the same problem of looking for water.
Our crews are out trying to restore that water supply system, which is, in an earthquake of this magnitude, is severely disrupted. From what I understand from the regional facilities, many of the major water mains and dam structures have been damaged. The reservoirs that hold the water have been damaged, which could take literally months to repair.
You have water in your house. In your hot water tank, you have some water. You may have some water in your fridge. You may have fluids. Fluids are most important right now. Please conserve it. Please look for some of the alternates that you have in your house right now.
The lack of water has indeed hampered firefighting efforts. Ironically, saltwater pumps that would have allowed firefighters to pump seawater directly to the fires were to have been installed but are not yet currently in place. Throughout the lower mainland, however, ordinary citizens are helping answer the urgent appeals. They've sprung into action and provided the sort of assistance officials could not have counted on or indeed have done without.
Yes, Dale, you're absolutely right. We're hearing story after story about a community pulling together to deal with the disaster that has just happened. In fact, I was talking to Jay here, and he was telling me a little bit about his community and what they're doing to handle the situation.
Well, you know, there was these fires everywhere. It just seemed kind of hopeless. You hear all these sirens going off, and only one truck was able to make it down. You got one truck, and you got a whole neighborhood on fire. I mean, you know, we were lucky. All of a sudden, some people, they started picking up containers and bottles and anything they could get a hold of, and they went down to the water. I mean, before I knew it, there must have been like over 200 people there just shuffling the water back and forth, trying to help out the firefighters any way they could. You know, everybody was like in shock, you know. We were all worried and afraid, but where we live, it seemed that people were really pulling together like a community. We were going to get through this together, and we were lucky because we had a plan, and the most important thing is that me and family, we got through this. Right, Johnny?
Yeah. Thank you.
Frightening, isn't it? If a major earthquake strikes, the city's survival will depend on everyone pulling together and doing what they can to best assist the authorities. Here are a few things you can personally do to help emergency workers help those who are truly in need. Don't use roads and phones until the authorities have given the okay. Roads and phones will be for emergency use only and will be vital as life-saving operations. Putting phone receivers back on the hook will help speed up repairs. Also, if you abandon your car on the road and you can get back to it safely, please pull it off to the side. Keep flat shoes, food, water, and a warm jacket in your trunk. If you're in the car when an earthquake strikes, it could be a long walk home. Conserve resources. All resources will be in short supply, especially water. It may be a while until the city water system can be restored. Remember, alternate sources of water include your hot water tank, fluids from some tinned goods like peas, toilet tanks, standing water in pipes, and water from melted ice cubes. Don't drink water from swimming pools, hot tubs, toilet bowls, toilet tanks which are tainted with a disinfecting chemical, or from vinyl plastic containers such as waterbeds. Always keep a supply of water on hand. Help. We'll need you. Skills in engineering, heavy lifting, building, and emergency medicine will be badly needed. Listen to your portable or car radio. You'll be instructed where you could go to join a team. Don't go off on your own. You could endanger your own life as well as the lives of those that you are trying to help.
If you have just been able to join us at this time, we are attempting to bring you the latest information on the earthquake that has struck southwestern BC. There is no accurate death toll. Authorities are much more concerned with helping the victims than they are with counting the bodies. We do know, however, that the death toll will be high. Okay, we do have for you now, excuse me, a live hookup with David Hooper at the triage center that has been set up in Vanier Park. David, can you describe the scene for us there? I'm sorry, David, we're not hearing you in the studio here.
Yes,
David?
yes. Well, it's overwhelming to say the least. It's an absolute sea of people with still more desperate for medical help. The doctors, nurses, paramedics, many of whom who have left their own families to come and tend to the injured, are doing what they can, but they're pushed to the absolute limit. You have to remember the fact, too, that after a 12-hour shift, there isn't always someone to relieve them. The officials are asking anyone with medical and/or medical support skills to make their way to the various triage centers. They are also asking the public not to make use of those centers unless they themselves are suffering from a life-threatening injury. Doctor, what kinds of injuries have you had to deal with?
Well, most of the things we're seeing around here is from falling glass and debris, so there's a lot of serious lacerations, fractures, crush injuries, burns, associated medical injuries.
Right, right. What can people do at home if they're not coming down to the centers?
Well, I'd like to remind people to keep really calm. No need to panic. They can get some good information in the white pages of the phone book.
Yeah.
The main thing is to keep an injured person warm and relaxed. Make sure the airway's open. Stop any bleeding that's just by putting your hand on it or some cloth. If they've got a fracture, stabilize it with cushions or pillows or something like that. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Yes, they are pushed to the absolute limit down here, with thousands more arriving all the time, and
David?
Okay, I hear you, David.
There are emergency workers who have been on site since shortly after the quake hit. Sir, how long have you been here?
I don't know, 15, 20 hours, something like that. They've just pulled me. They do that, you know, when it's so hard. There's so many people, so many, and they all need help.
Okay, we gotta get going here.
I can't just stop working.
Come on, buddy. Let's get you out of here. Let's get you somewhere safe, okay? We gotta move this person right now. Okay, go ahead, Robbie.
We still on? Is everyone okay?
Diana?
All right, David. David, are you all right? All right. Obviously, we've lost that feed. We'll let you know when we've heard from them, and we'll bring you that report from the triage center as soon as it becomes available. In the meantime, we have this footage of the Coast Guard's hovercraft bringing in some victims to the triage center.
I can't breathe in my nose. Can you take me home? I gotta go home. I gotta go and find her.
Lie still,
I
dear.
gotta make sure she's all right, please.
We're gonna pick you up, brother.
That feels okay? You can move your legs? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, guys.
This is a scenario where everybody is affected. So we're asking people to help their neighbors. If you know of an elderly person who lives, go check and see if they're okay. If you know of somebody who is physically challenged, go and help them if you can. If you know somebody who is young or old, please go and help your neighbors, because at this stage, it's everybody has to pitch together, and we'll all make it okay.
No one is exempt from the power of an earthquake. With a little luck, some preparations, and some planning, however, earthquakes are survivable. A lot of it is just plain, common good sense. Stop and think. A major earthquake, such as the one in our program, a 7.5, could shake the ground for a long, long time. You might feel it will never stop, but it will. And when it does, don't move. Take a moment to collect your thoughts and think about your personal earthquake plan, a plan you may wish to develop before tonight is over. Having a plan which will include such essential things as how to reconnect your family, will give you strength in the face of the crisis. Assess your situation. Determine what dangers are immediately at hand and how you can protect yourself from them. If a quake happens at night, put on your shoes. There's likely to be broken glass, and use your flashlight. Both of these items could be stored under your bed or somewhere safe nearby. Don't turn on any electrical switches or light any matches until you've determined whether or not you are in any danger from a gas leak, chemical spill, or any other such hazard. Take a head count and then count again. Make sure you've accounted for everyone. Someone could be injured, unconscious, trapped, or unable to call out. Listen for tapping or other noises that might be made by someone unable to use their voice. Assess injuries and psychological needs. Earthquakes can be terrifying events. Some can handle it better than others. By having a plan, you are already further ahead than many of those around you. Look after those who are unable to look after themselves.
I have this note. The Red Cross is desperately low on blood of all types. They've sent out an urgent appeal for donors to come forward. A call has also gone out to the community, to anyone and everyone with special skills to please contact an emergency response center. And everyone with medical skills is asked to please go to emergency centers. Your help is desperately needed there. If you require medical assistance, please find your way to the nearest emergency center. If you lose our signal, tune into your local emergency broadcast station to find out where they're located. And we'll be broadcasting that information also throughout the days to come. All right, we have online with us now at last seismologist Gary Rogers. Gary?
Yes, Dale?
Around us, of course, we can see the effects of the quake, but can you tell us, please, from a scientific standpoint, exactly what happened?
The earthquake we just had was a magnitude about 7.5, which places it amongst the largest earthquakes that we've ever had in this region, comparable to the earthquake we had in 1946 on Vancouver Island. What's happened is we've had a thrust fault with the southern portion moving up over the northern in an east-west fault across the strait. The aftershocks we're mapping out right now delineates this fault. We can certainly expect more aftershocks in the next few days, in fact the next few weeks, some of them expected to be quite large.
Gary, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome.
Well, you know, we've experienced a number of aftershocks, and while generally not as strong or as devastating as the initial quake, aftershocks can still be dangerous, causing buildings already damaged by the quake to collapse with subsequent shaking. But right now, city engineers are moving through the city, checking buildings, determining which are safe and which are unsafe. Susan McLennan is with city engineer John Robertson and has more on that story.
Mr. Robertson, how can we, members of the public, know which buildings are safe to go into?
We have a system of tagging buildings involving yellow, green, and red tags, and the buildings are tagged as soon as we can get to them. Red tag means the building is condemned, is unsafe, and it may in fact be demolished if it presents a threat to passers-by in the street. A yellow tag means it's not safe to enter, only limited entry, and the green tag means the building is safe to enter and can be reoccupied. I think the things to be very careful about are fallen electrical wires, particularly in the street, and also going near buildings which are damaged or severely damaged, because elements of the cladding and the walls can fall without warning.
Mr. Robertson, how long do you think it will take the city to rebuild?
It's a very difficult question that to answer, and it depends. We'd have to make the full damage assessment before we could predict that.
I'm going to have to stop you there, Susan. We'll be going live now to a press conference that's being held at the Premier's Vancouver office.
Yeah, Doc Harris is standing by, so let's go to him now.
As you know, it's been 26 hours since we had the quake, and we have not yet heard anything from the provincial government. At this time, we are awaiting the arrival of Adrienne Frame, the provincial. Here she comes now. Ms. Frame, can you tell us about the highway? So the highway is going to remain closed much longer. People are trying to get in out of the lower mainland.
Yesterday at 4:45, as you know, our province was struck by a powerful earthquake, registering 7.5 on the Richter scale. Shortly thereafter, municipalities throughout the region formally requested assistance from the province. The provincial government, in turn, requested help from federal relief agencies. Subsequently, a massive operation orchestrated by all 3 levels of government, involving thousands of people and every available piece of equipment, was activated in accordance with the National Earthquake Support Plan as developed by Emergency Preparedness Canada.
Can you tell
We are doing everything we can. The need is great. We will meet that need. It will take time. There are as yet no firm figures regarding deaths or injuries. We expect both counts to be high. It will be days, possibly weeks, until we can say for certain how many casualties we've had. The Premier, as you know, and several members of the Cabinet are among the injured. We have word that the Premier is expected to make a full, albeit slow, recovery. The Deputy Premier will work closely with the Premier to ensure the people of British Columbia are well represented in the face of this disaster.
Could you elaborate on the nature of the Premier's injuries at this time?
No, I'm afraid I don't have any more information on that. I do know, though, that the Premier was hit by falling glass and suffered some lacerations. Beyond that, I have very little information at this time. I will, however, keep you informed of information as it becomes available.
Do you have any numbers on the death toll?
I think it's really important that everybody understand that the government of British Columbia, along with municipal governments and the federal government, is doing everything it can to ensure that we get through this as quickly and as safely as is humanly possible.
Can you tell us why?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will keep you informed as more information becomes available. The Deputy Premier will be making a statement shortly. Thank you very much.
After an earthquake, moving around the city will be difficult and even dangerous. You should consider the following. If you can see no immediate danger, stay where you are. You're safer here than trying to move through streets littered with broken glass, rubble, and downed power lines. If you smell gas, shut off your utilities at the source. A quarter turn to the right with your crescent wrench will stop the gas flow. If you do not smell gas, easily identifiable by its rotten egg-like smell, there's no need to turn it off. If your surroundings pose an immediate threat to you, evacuate. Help others who may not be able to help themselves get out. Remember to take your emergency survival kit with you. Downed power lines and transformers could be reactivated at any time. Stay as far away from them as possible. Ensure that children and pets are also kept far away from such hazards at all times.
To most of us, Vancouver used to be a safe city, somewhere largely removed from the dangers that other cities face. For many of us, yesterday, that perception changed. We have this report from Patrick Corbett, who's with the federal government's agent. Get down, Michael, get down. Take care.
Are we...
Is everyone okay?
Do we still have, are we still on the air?
Diane, you all right?
Daniel?
Craig, everybody okay? Yeah, what's the matter?
I'm not sure, but I think that I've got...
Jessica! What's the matter?
Can you see what's...
No, I can't. I think she's got something in her eye.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, I'll take care of you.
Okay, Jessica's
Don't
got
touch it.
You all right?
Leave your head
All
up.
right.
Keep your head up. I'm going to cover it and I'll guide you out, okay? Here we go. Just remain calm. Keep breathing. It's okay.
Okay, I'm sure Michael's going to be okay. Hopefully she'll be rejoining us shortly. Excuse me. Well, you can see you absolutely never know when an aftershock is going to hit, so it's a good idea to be constantly aware of your surroundings, of places you can take cover, whether it's under a desk, a table, even in a doorway, any place that'll protect you from falling debris. A good idea to be aware of staying away from places where glass can fall on you. A lot of injuries and death are caused by falling glass. In fact, I think we had a report that indeed the Premier's injuries were caused by falling glass. If you need to venture outside, plan your route with aftershocks in mind. Don't go to areas where there may be down power lines or a potential for more falling glass. In other words, I guess, think before you venture out. How's Michael doing?
She's okay. She's going to be okay, Dale.
Oh, good, thank you. Well, I understand Michael's will rejoin us shortly. She's going to be all right. Well, you can see how important it is to have a good first aid kit on hand, how important it is to have a number of things on hand just for a situation like this. In fact, Jessica, if you're through, perhaps you wouldn't mind bringing a first aid kit out. We can show people at home the sort of items they might want to have on hand. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to do that now?
Sure, yeah, come on on. Just...
This is what we have in the station here.
Listen, I better see if we still have a microphone.
Okay.
Hang on, there we go. We still want
Okay, great.
I'll just Launch the cord.
Thank you.
Is that on?
Okay.
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 It's all yours.
Okay, I guess the main thing that you need to remember is that you take the things you need and you leave behind the things you don't need. I guess the point is to keep it as compact as possible.
All right.
Okay? This is what we have. I can just sort of go through what I have.
Yep, by all means, take it away.
Here's dressings. I have this whole section here is dressings for wounds. If you don't have these dressings, which are just like towels, but they're sterile, you can use towels. You can use sheets, strips of clothing, anything that will, cover a wound. Try to stay away from tissue because that will stick to, the abrasion. Okay. I also have here, first of all, I'll show you the emergency blanket. This is plastic, which is great for protection. If you don't have this, you can use sheets, blankets, coats, newspapers, anything that will protect you, from wind or cold or fire, things like that.
Right.
Okay. This is called a SAM splint, and these are really great because they're very, very pliable.
What do you do with this?
Now, if you say broke your elbow or something, you had an injury like that, I would put this like this and brace it the way I need to brace it, and then I'd wrap it with bandages.
Oh.
Okay? So that's a really handy thing to have.
It is indeed.
If you don't have this, you can use magazines, newspapers, and just wrap them, cardboard, anything that's sort of sturdy that will hold it, and use bandages to hold it in place. Okay, and I can show you actually the bandages. These are tensor bandages, and this is what it's actually just a long...
Similar to the ones used for sprained ankles.
Exactly.
And,
it's a long bandage, and you just wrap them around. Okay, on this side, I have bottled water. And this is really important because you shouldn't drink the tap water because it may be contaminated after an earthquake, so you don't know. So always stick to the bottled water.
Good advice.
Okay. And on this section here, I have your basic first aid needs. I have various gauzes, bandages. You can never have too many bandages around. If you can't use bandages, again, use cloth, any pieces of material or fabric you have lying around. Now, I have this solution here. It's like a saline solution. It's an eye wash. And that's what I used with Michael. I basically she had some debris in her eye, and I just washed it away. It's just like washing. Again, don't use the tap water. Try to stay with, if you don't have the saline solution, use the bottled water.
Great.
Okay? And I guess basically the other things I have are Rolaids, sugar pills in case of diabetics. Oh, thank you. Basically those...
I'll just hold this for you.
Thank you. I guess basically that's it. I have rubber gloves as well, and that's important because you need to keep the area as sterile as possible. And when you're treating other people's wounds and things, you need to protect yourself. Okay, and I guess that's
so
it.
to sum it up...
Sum it up, take what you need, don't take what you don't, make it as compact as possible, and don't let it be a burden for you. And remain calm.
Remain calm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica, very much, and
thanks.
thanks for your help with Michael.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. Necessary items in the complete first aid kit. Well, the quake may have lasted for just less than a minute. But one thing is clear, we will be dealing with its aftermath, with its wake for years to come. There'll be rebuilding, restructuring. Beyond that, there is the human factor.
Yeah, we are involved in the counseling area, crisis counseling. And we've looking at the international airport now with 5,000. We've just heard that we will have to look after 100,000 throughout the lower mainland. So we're trying to find counselors throughout Canada. We have calls in to Calgary. We have another call in that we might have to reach as far as Ontario to get counselors in.
If a major earthquake strikes, you'll be on your own for 7 to 14 days. That's 1 or 2 weeks. That's a long time, especially if you're in a crisis situation. Imagine, without warning, being cut off from virtually everything and everyone you've come to depend on. No grocery stores, no banks, nothing. You'll have to be self-sufficient. Our lives could quite literally be shaken down to the very foundations. It is survivable if you're prepared. Here's what you need to do now. Keep a 2-week supply of food and water in your home at all times. The bulk of your emergency food items should be items which can be served without cooking and without major preparation. They should be non-perishable and chosen with individual tastes and allergies in mind. If you or a member of your family requires medication of any kind, make sure you keep an extra supply just in case. Also ensure you carry emergency doses of any critical medicines with you in case you're not at home when the quake hits. Take some time to put together or buy your emergency survival kits. You should have one for your home, one for the office, and one for the car. They should be light, easy to carry, and include first aid, personal hygiene items, flashlight, extra batteries, and a portable radio. If you haven't already done so, take a basic first aid course, one which will allow you to be effective in the face of an emergency. What you learn now could make the difference between life and death. To learn more, contact the Red Cross or the St. John's Ambulance Foundation.
I have joining me now Nancy Purcell and Patrick Biernes. They are critical incident stress debriefers with the BC Ambulance Services. They've both just been working very hard. Have just come off an 18-hour shift, but have kindly consented to be interviewed with us here in the studio. What exactly is a stress debriefer?
A stress debriefer, it's a paramedic who's trained in emergency work, who's also trained as a special counselor to help crews deal with bad calls. And it doesn't get worse than this.
So your primary function is to help your crews through these stressful times, and they're ministering to people. What kind of emotional strains are you encountering out there generally?
Just feelings of shock, despair. I think people are trying to cope with the situation.
Disbelief. This was never supposed to happen.
And physiologically, people might experience what?
There's a lot of feeling of just being lost. They probably are feeling a little nauseated. They could be feeling dizzy. Just the shock.
They just can't function. They can't get out of the fact that it'll never get better. They're stuck right in the here and now.
I understand. What sort of advice might you give people generally to help them cope with this situation?
Well, it's just they're going to have to take care of one another.
I think they should know that they're having normal reactions to a horribly abnormal event. And to be good to each other. Just be good to each other.
Good advice. Be good to each other. Well, not only are these folks trying to assist other people in this, but I'm sure they have their own personal problems to deal with. Can you tell us about any stress you're undergoing personally?
I haven't. My 12-year-old daughter is still missing and presumed dead.
I'm terribly sorry to hear that. I'm sure everyone out there empathizes with you and wishes you God's help in this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. I do appreciate it. I understand we have a report from one of the community centers, and Michael Doogie is going to rejoin us with this report.
As a result of the earthquake, many of the people found were separated from their families, unsure of their whereabouts, unsure of their well-being. Today, the task begins of trying to reunite those families separated, torn apart by the quake. We have with us now, via live hookup, Red Cross official Barry Groh. Mr. Groh, it's your job right now to try to help people get reunited with their families. How can the public assist you in that?
Well, first of all, people who've been affected by the disaster, who've been evacuated from their homes, it's important that we have their names because there are people who are worried about you, and we can tell them that you're okay only if you register with us. You can do that at any of your local disaster centers, and when telephones get back in operation, we'll be publishing a telephone number where you can call us.
Mr. Groh, given the sheer numbers of people that you're dealing with and the degree of devastation that is around you, you must feel like you're attempting to do the impossible.
Well, naturally, the absence of usable telephones is a serious problem, and so all we can really suggest to people is that they proceed carefully in trying to get back in touch with their families. First of all, travel very carefully. We understand how worried you are about your family, but realize that they want you to be safe first and foremost. If you leave where you are, leave a note so that if someone comes looking for you, they'll know that you're okay.
Mr. Groh, we thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck.
This has been a time of great tragedy, great sorrow for so many of us. But it's also been a time of giving, of reaching out, of helping others. And all around the city, donations have been pouring in, blankets, food, clothing. Survivors helping survivors.
Well, I think the biggest thing is we're all neighbors right now. If ever we had to pull together and work as if we were a team, we belong to each other, it's now. Please go and check your neighbors, talk to them, support them, because psychologically, this has a great effect. Hug somebody, put an arm around them, it really makes a difference at this stage.
If a major earthquake strikes, you may be separated from members of your family. Here are some things you can do now, before a quake, to help you reunite everyone. Choose a meeting place somewhere close where your family can gather, somewhere you believe would remain relatively undamaged in the face of a quake. Choose an out-of-province contact person. Your odds of getting a long-distance line are probably greater than of you getting a local one. Remember, the phones are for emergency use only, so wait until emergency officials tell you it's okay to use the lines. Then keep your call short. Leave notes. Whenever you leave one location for another for whatever reason, leave a note in plain sight, fixed to the outside of the building. Register with the Red Cross at your municipal emergency reception center. They will be able to pass on information about your well-being and whereabouts to anyone who contacts them. Carry identification. Every member of your family at all times should carry identification. School emergency plan. If you have children, find out what their school emergency plan is. If they don't have one, get involved. Help create one. It could mean your child's life. Be patient. With the possibilities of roads blocked and bridges out, what was once a mere 20-minute drive could now be a several-day walk. Remember to stay calm. There's a very good chance that everyone is fine and you'll be reunited. It will just take a little time. More than 200 earthquakes strike the west coast of British Columbia each year. Although most are too small to be felt, experts warn us that we can expect an earthquake causing considerable destruction soon. It makes sense to be prepared, but most of us aren't. Most of us assume that we'll get what we need when the time comes, or worse, that someone else, emergency officials, will take care of us. Truth is, there won't be an ambulance, there won't be a police car, and there won't be a fire truck to save the day. You're on your own for 3 days, 7 days, maybe more. Do you know what to do? The following is a list of agencies you can contact for further information. Please get personally involved. Being prepared is a community responsibility, and it starts with you. I'm Tony Parsons. Thank you for watching. Good night.
To order your copy of On Shaky Ground or Personal Earthquake Kit, phone 1-800-567-5260. Prepare your loved ones for the event of an earthquake. Only $19.95 for the videotape and $35 for the kit. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Sales tax, shipping and handling extra. Allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.